Welcome to the live show in 1080p now. We're taking a risk here now. Normally we only go to 720p on our quality chart here, quality meter. But with this new Slick internet we have, Slick being the company, SLIC, we're trying it. We're gonna see if this works, and if it doesn't, well then, it's like everything else that happens in the show. It doesn't work. But at JB, let's see, cold open time. We thought we had a special guest lined up. He still may show up. We'll see.
What?
I'm trying to find somebody cooler than you to have on this show. I think we do have one person cooler than you, Tamir Thomas, coming up on our show. So there's that. So, but I'm trying for the daily double on that. We'll see if it happens. But anything exciting been happening on Twitter, social media lately?
Either you die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain, and that's what happened to me last night. I hurt a lot of people's feelings for questioning Logan Hansen's NPI prediction stuff, and like we said from day one, there's still a lot of information that's been mistold, misinformed. I mean, the NCAA has not been very truthful about how this whole thing's going to work. They've released some stuff, but not everything. And, I appreciate that Logan out there is trying to provide a service, I guess you can say, to D3 fans who want to know what their team's playoff chances are and whether or not they'll get a first-round bye. But to say that it's 99.9% accurate and to sort of say things that are a little misleading, I just take issue with. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's just a bad communicator, and I think he's said things on the Around the Nation podcast that aren't true. And I think Pat and his gang are kind of letting Logan run, with this stuff, because no one else really dives into this as deep as he does. But we know for a fact that there's a lot of things missing from the MPI calculation still. The data, there's no data until probably 5, 6, 7 games have been played. So everything is just a total conjecture. And it's one thing to say, it's a predictive thing. But when you're going out there into the public and saying, this is what's going to happen, I took issue with it. And so now I'm an asshole. What am I going to do?
So let me say this much. Logan's not lying about stuff. I want to be clear about that. But it's not a fact or fiction question as much as it's his opinion. His probabilities are his opinion, utilizing a model he has created and modified and modified and modified and modified and modified. And what Logan has discovered over the years, whether he wants to admit this or not, is that because we only have 9 or 10 football games a year, it's not easy to model Division III football with just pure data. No. There's just not enough data. So what the NCAA do, they created a system in which we'll have even less data to utilize on team schedules, instead of keeping that subjective, hey, let's smooth out the anomalies with this great cast of characters to understand football. This has been the big complaint from day one. But as you're saying, the misleading part of it, and Pat Coleman's pissed at me, I'm pissed at Pat, and that's nothing new for those that know us out there. But, it comes down to, look, Pat, he started the conversation the other day on your podcast about, we're 60-something% of the out-of-conference games done, and that's going to be the biggest part of MPI because of the differentiation that out-of-conference games cause us and everything. Completely on board with that. I get that. But then jumps into Springfield's going to be a 70% chance to be in the top 8 because he's using his prediction model to get Springfield to 10-0 and other teams not to 10-0 ultimately. I don't care about Logan's prediction models. We're going to predict games here at the end of the show, and we are freaking out of our minds half the time. Our percentage is great, but we would tell people never rely on our predictions. Never. Okay? It's a joke. It really is.
Yeah.
Okay? We're sitting here acting like we know anything about Division III college football. God damn it, I am as stupid as can be about certain aspects of football. I didn't play the game. We know this, okay? But at the same time, I've got 30 years of coverage to say, well, here's some things I've seen, here's some things I've noticed about this team or whatnot, but I wouldn't go to the bank on that. If there were betting lines in Division III, do not follow what I say. Ever. Ever.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. But at the end of the day, though, Frank, I will say, I assess and I interview, executives for a living, and what I've noticed in my career is that I'm not going to go against somebody who went to Harvard Law School. So I'm just going to put that out there. Maybe if you went to Catholic or Wartburg, you might think you're smart, but you're not as smart as someone who went to Harvard Law. I'm just going to put that out there and just leave it at that. There are things that with this MPI model or whatever the hell it is that we won't really know what's going to happen for another 5 to 7 weeks. So just to put things out there that say that you're pretty sure this is what's going to happen is a little dicey in my opinion. And that's why when I question the, I went to a master's program in business, so I understand what a Monte Carlo simulation is. It all depends on what you're putting into the model. And if the data is not there, what you're going to get out is not going to really work. So I don't know, man. I appreciate what Logan's trying to do, but I think the way he's communicated it to the public is a little misleading. I said my piece, and I don't think the inputs that he's putting in are really accurate because we don't really know what's going to happen for at least a couple weeks. I think if we were upfront about what everything really was, then I wouldn't have had a beef with it. But I'm a jerk now, so I'm just going to sit here and drink my coffee, and that's how it goes.
Well, folks, welcome to a show with 2 jerks, 6 regions, 1 guest, maybe 2, and 15 games to be predicted, because we're still going to predict them even though we know nothing about football at the end of the day. That's how it works here. This is our live show, our 10th episode of Season 17 of In the Huddle. We'll have more about MPI, actually give you some details and some thoughts on the actual process of NPI and why there is so much controversy on it out there. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, waking you up now. Okay. You want me to enlarge that there, Gramps?
Yeah, exactly, man.
How about we talk about some key games? We have some great games throughout this country. In week 3, we will not have a Wittenberg game, and I said it on Twitter. I will say it here. It does, and it's also, if you know where the threats are coming from, and we had overseas threats, we believe too, in my area here on our school districts locally. And once you know it, okay, resume life. Do not let these assholes, if we're going to really go cuss words today, don't let the assholes win.
That's the way that
I think we're at 3 already, or 4 if I said it twice. Mm-hmm. But don't let them win here. And political, non-political, whatever you want to call what's happening in Springfield, Ohio. Obviously, it's opportunistic bullshit going on with the folks in the overseas communities that just prey on this stuff. Get back to life in Springfield. Get back to life in Wittenberg, okay? And everybody move on with their lives. We've got another, 6 weeks and change of election cycle and politics going on.
End soon.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So We're sorry that the Hiram game versus Wittenberg has been canceled. I don't believe it's being rescheduled, and we hope that you can get back to your way of life. And as somebody that has had to announce shooting threats, etc., at my local high school and other school possibilities, it does suck for everybody. And yet, the key is to get back to life as quickly as possible. That's all I can say out there. I've lived this now as a politician, and I don't usually merge my politician nature with this show. And I'm not going to get all political about things like somebody else did the other day. But the reality is, get back to life. That's all I can say. Let's go to Region 1 here with the big games, and I will be heading out. Why don't you come up for this game?
It is tempting. I mean, it's funny. So I'm going to land in Hartford around 6 p.m. and if my wife wasn't picking me up, I could probably hightail it to this Union Springfield game because it's not that far from Windsor Locks, Connecticut. But I do have some family commitments and some people to see and take care of. So and I was also thinking, man, I could probably go to that Tufts Wesleyan game on Saturday, but it's my dad's birthday party. Can't miss that. Actually, today is my dad's 76th birthday, so happy birthday, Dad. And my parents' anniversary was yesterday, 54 years. I mean, they just don't make them like they used to. So, it's going to be a nice little family reunion. And I would love to get to some games, but it's going to be, family stuff. It's just going to take priority. And so my D3 football interest. I even want to go to my high school. My high school's playing a game tonight at 6 o'clock I could go to, but I don't think I can go to that either.
I will look for rental cars from the airport from Hartford to see if you can figure out a way to maybe let your wife have the credit card and go shopping instead of picking your butt up at the airport and come on up. Yeah. What is it, 91, like right? Straight up 91 to Springfield, basically.
Springfield.
But Tyler Pullman is going to be, I believe, returning. He's back in school, as we announced in our last show. And to see him out there is going to be very inspirational for his brotherhood of Springfield. So that's going to be really, really big moment there. Another Friday night game under the lights. And Union, who had a heart stopper versus Maritime on Saturday, which shouldn't have been a heart stopper by many people's opinions. That'll be a big game just to see if Union kind of bounces off of that win, finally getting John Drock into the win column after 2 games, or Springfield's going to keep rolling that 70-plus points they had versus Husson, ultimately. So that's a big game. And also Framingham State, Mass Dartmouth. Look, Framingham State is seeming to be missing a beat here for some reason. But look, Dante Villasantos out there, we want to see how he's going to do here. This game's always been that kind of bugaboo game for him where he can win it. He knows that, obviously, but it's always kind of been that specter on that schedule for him. And he's a great quarterback, great guy. We've had him on the show, so I'm curious to see how that game goes. Yep. For the rest of this list, Del Val Stevenson should have been a better game coming into it, but Stevenson is just laying eggs, and I can't figure this out for some reason. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it does seem like the Aggies are on a whole nother level, and the MAC is just sort of trying to play catch-up this year. Stevenson came out in week 1. They got blown out by Rowan, which seems like the NJAC is really a much stronger conference than it's been in recent years. But, the Mustangs just don't really seem to have the same juice. We have some other games on the schedule that could be interesting, like FDU Florham's trying to get to 3-0. Morrisville State Catholic is a good matchup. Anna Maria, they put up a lot of points. SUNY Maritime, hosting them could be interesting. Got a couple of NESCAC games, like I said. I mean, Middletown, Connecticut's not that far from my folks' place, but it's going to be tough to excuse myself for my dad's birthday party on Saturday night. But it should be a good weekend in Region 1. Should be some competitive games.
Let's go to Region 2. This is probably the highlight region. We start with the Transit Trophy game tonight at 7 o'clock at RPI. Western New England, St. Lawrence, interesting night game up in Canton. I can't remember last time Canton hosted a night game like this, to be honest with you.
Me neither.
And Western New England is a team that, they challenged Springfield, so this could be a very, very good game, I think, ultimately. But let's look at the next line. I'll be down there. Cortland at Susquehanna. We call it the rematch for good reason. It was Cortland's only blemish last season on the way to a national championship. Susquehanna feels still to this day that they should have been the ones probably in that championship game, but they couldn't get through the playoffs. They just seem to not be able to get past certain stages, but this year they're trying to take on a different approach, different thought. We'll see how it goes. Then also on this list, Salisbury versus Johns Hopkins. Coming into the season, not many people necessarily saw this as a big game, but it's turned into a big game, that's for sure, after what happened in Muhlenberg last week. And JB, Rowan to your sinus as well, is an interesting game at 7 p.m., so you get a little nightcap from the NJAC and the Centennial. But that Salisbury-Johns Hopkins game, that's going to be a tough one to predict when we get to later in the show.
Yeah, you think? Yeah, I think so too. Salisbury, the offense that they can produce is just, I mean, it harkens back to some of their deep playoff runs from years ago, and they're with their running back, 200 yards, something like that last weekend against Muhlenberg, who played Johns Hopkins. I mean, if not for like a random football off somebody's butt, they could have lost that game, and so it's going to be tough to pick the Jays in that one, even though they're at Homewood. So it's an interesting conundrum, especially after how Hopkins looked against Christopher Newport, which is a good team, and they've got a good game against Gettysburg, who seems improved. I don't know. I'm going to think about that one.
11.5-minute drive was interesting, though, for them in that fourth quarter. That was the key to success. So ball control, at least. You got that much. I'll let you take Region 3 here. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there's some interesting games in Region 3. The Barry-Randolph-Macon game had a little of the air taken out of it when the Vikings lost 33-0 to DePaul. But Randolph-Macon also struggled to put away Hobart, who not ranked. So, maybe Barry's got a shot here. And Center Hampton-Sydney should be a good game between offenses that can put up some points. Belhaven-Brevard is a solid USA South matchup. Washington-Lee against Trinity is a great game, a great matchup too between an ODAC team and a SAA team that are trying to turn things around. We saw the Tigers win pretty big last weekend against Belhaven, so after the rough start they had against Texas Lutheran, maybe they're trying to turn things around. And then we've got some night games between Rhodes and Shenandoah, Howard Payne, Lyon, Texas Lutheran, McMurray. So we'll see. It should be some good stuff in Region 3.
Yeah, it's funny. My game to watch in Quick Hits this week is that Trinity game, against Washington Lee. I just want to see who the real Trinity is when it comes down to it, and I can't tell from the first two games. They look great against Belhaven. They looked not so great against TLU, as you pointed out earlier on here. So I'm not sure here, but I am not giving up on Barry here necessarily that easily. I just think that they laid an absolute egg last week against DePaul, and DePaul I think is a team on a mission this year. So we'll see, and we'll get to predictions later on, and that will be included in that discussion. So, every region has some games that actually excite me, and Region 4 may be short on game list, but at the same time, it's got a couple of big games, and we're both kind of focusing here on the OAC and what we're doing here. Go ahead.
Well, we've got John Carroll against Mount Union, which has been a great rivalry for decades now. This is technically the last conference game between these two teams, as John Carroll is leaving for the NCAC in 25. I think they'll keep playing each other as an out-of-conference game, but this will be the last time. This one kind of counts in the OAC standings. But Ohio Northern against Heidelberg is not a game to sleep on either under the lights. That should be an exciting one as well. Hope Rose-Hulman, that's always a solid matchup. And then Albion at Mount St. Joe's as well. So not a ton of games in Region 4, but the ones that are listed are pretty good ones to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I have nothing really to add. We're going to actually skip 5 for a second here. I want to go to Region 6 for a reason, as our guest is in the wings,
right.
and he represents Region 6. And let's go to that slide right here. And boy, that top level game. I got to be honest about something to our viewers. The person that's giving Mary Hardin Baylor all of their points in the D3Football.com top 25 poll is me. I have them,
Yeah.
and this I've never had this happen before, where it's been this much of an overlay compared to the rest of the poll. I have never had this happen where I disagree so vehemently with the voters out there. And in this case, I got to say, and Tamir, forgive me, and the Wings for even saying this, but I think this is going to be a hell of a game. I think that Mary Hardin Baylor is going to defy expectations. It doesn't mean they're going to win necessarily, JB, but what it does mean to me is that people are, what do they think? It was Bethel of Division III they played? This is the number 6 team in NAIA they lost to by 10 points. Okay, Westgate Christian was it?
Yeah.
Maybe not the team you want to be playing in Division III schedules, but you know why they have to right now. But now, okay, put all that aside, UMHB is playing a big-time game in Division III against the team that's number 3 on my ballot, and I think many others, Whitewater. What are your thoughts here as we begin to prep for our interview?
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure that there isn't a single player on the Warhawks roster that is thinking that they're just going to pancake the Crusaders. I mean, they know better. This program, even though they were down last year, still has a ton of talent. And yeah, like you said, they lost to a pretty highly ranked NAIA team or whatever Bethel of Tennessee is, but these guys can bring it, and so it's going to be probably 15 to close to 20,000 people in the Perk. It's going to be a big game atmosphere. It's going to feel like a playoff game, and the Warhawks are going to be ready to bring it because they kind of have to. This is not a game. Well, it's not a WIAC conference game, so there'll be maybe some guys sitting out like our guest here who got a little banged up, but at the same time, this is an important win for both teams, and so I think both of them will take it really seriously. This is probably the biggest game of the weekend.
Let's bring in a very exciting player, somebody that we've said his name in crunch time multiple times throughout the last couple of seasons here. And, as you said, we'll find out how he's doing because he did get a little banged up, I think, in that Roosevelt game last weekend. Only putting up about 43 rushing yards, give or take, I think it was. But still, he's somebody that's just a workhorse out there for Wisconsin-Whitewater. Tamir Thomas joins us. Tamir, thanks for joining us here. And how you doing? How you feeling?
I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
You absolutely can. And
loud and clear, man.
So tell us what happened last week, basically, because we understand you were kind of held out maybe in the last drive. Were you banged up? How you feeling? Will we see you at all this week without giving away company secrets?
Just from last week, I was pretty banged up last week. A couple of shots, but yeah, towards the end of the game, I wasn't feeling too good, so it wasn't the best decision for the team for me to just sit out towards the end of the game. Coming back into this week, I feel fine, but like Coach said, taking precautionary reasons to sit out for this week and getting ready for conference play.
Yeah, that makes sense, Tamir. So I guess we'll talk to you like you're a coach now. And so, you've seen the Crusaders on film a little bit. You have some familiarity playing them among a lot of the other top sort of 10 programs in Division III. What do you from more of a coaching perspective? What would you say are some of the things that sort of stand out to you about this year's Crusaders team and what you guys need to do to get a win on Saturday?
This team, much like every year with the Crusaders, they're a very large physical football team. So we have to bring our best effort, our best A game. Pretty much being like very technically sound. This is a team full of athletes, and they rely on their athleticism to make plays. Rightfully so. So our game plan is pretty much to give what they take us, or take what they give us, and just really try to inch the ball down the field, get yards that way.
You got to think that this team, UMHB, and you heard during while you were kind of waiting for us to shut up finally and bring you on in here, you heard us talking about some of the, I think, mistreatment or under assessment of UMHB going on out there by a lot of people. I mean, I'm the only one voting for them in the top 25, I think, at all right now in D3Football.com. It's 25 people, and only one is giving them any points, and I'm giving them 17 points, I think it is, on my ballot. Should tell you where I have them ranked. Do you feel that's unfair to that team from what you've seen on film and what you know about this team? If you were sitting in our shoes, how would you rank that team? Obviously, we got you ranked number 3, so we think highly of your team. But what about that other team out there?
Oh yeah, for sure. Maryland is a top 25 team through and through. Put that team on a majority of the team schedules in the top 25. There being a lot of those teams. This is a team where I wouldn't focus on the record. I wouldn't focus on like past results. This is a team where like they adjust pretty fast. Like they have like the athletes and the players and the coaches to where like they can make any game a football game. So like we know as a team, like when we came in on Sunday or Monday, our coach said like this is not like we don't look at records, especially when it comes to this team. Like they play us hard every single year. It doesn't matter through and out. We have to bring our A game, especially against this team, because although it's not a rivalry to us, it kind of is because we've been playing them nonstop, pretty much dating back to 2018, and every year it's been a ball game. So we treat it like it is every year.
All right, you're gonna have to have some little fun with me here, Tamir. So. You're from a place called Menominee or something. I can't even say it correctly, Wisconsin. So how did you end up at Whitewater, and kind of tell us a little bit about your backstory of how you ended up picking the Warhawks? I mean, obviously you had a breakout season last year, rushed for almost 1,500 yards, over 20 touchdowns. But you're from this little town, Menominee Falls, something like that. I can't even say it. So tell us a little. We want to get to know you a little better here. So help me. First off, tell me what your hometown is called.
I'm from Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. It was pretty close, Menominee Falls. It's just like 5 minutes just outside of Milwaukee. So I grew up in Milwaukee most of my life, but how I got to Whitewater. So my 3 schools on the ballot were Whitewater, Concordia St. Paul, and UW-Oshkosh. So funny enough, like I was leading towards Oshkosh because like a lot of my coaches in high school, they went to Oshkosh. I think one of the Pat Cerrone, I think his brother was a teacher in the fall. So he was really like, they were like pushing me towards that way. I went on a visit to Oshkosh, like I think one Saturday, and then I pretty much like talked to the coach. I'm like, I'm really liking the campus, like, but my mom and AT, they want me to go to Whitewater just to see a visit. It is what it is. Like, I'll call and get back to you on that. And then I took a visit to Whitewater. I was like, man, like this place is pretty tough. Walking in and you just seen the 6 national championships in the sack and all the story, the All-American wall and the locker room. It's like it's kind of tough not to like go here. So I kind of just went with my own decision, and I think I made the right one.
That crying sound you hear in the background is Coach Jennings over at UWO saying, okay, apparently it's going to be tough to sell this place against Whitewater still. Yeah, but so let's talk about also, I think in your time, you've changed head coach. Coach Bullis handed over the reins over to Coach Rindall. Kind of a interesting shift, but Jace has been with the program for years, for a few years at least here. He knows it pretty well, and so tell us what the culture change was, if any, with respect to that changing of head coaches ultimately at Whitewater.
With Coach Bullis, him being an older guy, he was a lot more like calmer, but he was still a pretty. He like kept people on their feet, on edge and stuff like that. To me, Coach Bullis was kind of like he was like a politician the way he talked. He was so smooth. You were just like, man, like yeah, like he's like wow, like I don't know how to say it, but I couldn't give you like a sentence, but he's just like, man, like this guy's good. Every time he talked, like had a conversation. Yeah. But with Coach Rindall, him being a program already, like it wasn't that much of an adjustment for us. Coach Rindall being a lot younger, he was a lot more like the hyper coach, like this, and this. Like we're like gonna get on it like this, and then like, and I agree. You know, like it's not a bad thing to change. You know, like philosophies or like change like a a type of like pace that you're running with. A program really keeps you, like I said, keeps you on your feet. And it's kind of fun, especially having a coach that's already within the program, so you can still continue what you guys were trying to do, but also like have a little bit of that change in there as well. So I really liked it.
Sounds good. Well, I sometimes we hang out with politicians. It could be a little, you're not really quite sure if Mr. Mayor over here. Tamir, one of the things I noticed in your bio is that you're actually not only a football player, but you're a track athlete. And you and I have something in common, even though I'm about 100 years older than you. You run the hurdles. And I used to do that when I was a kid, way back when. My
You ran the hurdles?
On the 110. It's hard to believe, but I was a hurdler back in the day. And my fastest time for the 110 highs, I think was 15.4 something. I imagine you probably could beat that by about 2 seconds, Tamir. I mean, are you a sprinter, or do you do like the 400 intermediates?
I do 110 hurdles and 400 hurdles, and then occasionally the 4x4. Yeah.
Wow.
But a lot of work, a lot of legs. It's pretty much just all 400 workouts. That's what I'm doing all day. So just training my legs to like die. Pretty much, it hurts, but it's all worth it in the end once we win those races.
Tamir, let's talk football one more time here, though. I'm going to put up your schedule on the screen here with the results that you've had so far. The John Carroll game, you guys dominated from start to finish, obviously. The Roosevelt game, this is it's again tough. You heard us also talk about Bethel of Tennessee and how people may discredit that game that Mary Hardin Baylor played. Roosevelt, who also plays Bethel of Tennessee last year at least, they did. You guys beat by 10 points, and it's tough to tell that's a good win, a bad win, or indifferent. But then you have a pretty interesting 1-2 punch with a week in between, obviously, with bye week on the 28th. Mary Hardin Baylor, and then Oshkosh. And we know that Oshkosh is going to be a big-time game. I mean, you just probably became bulletin board material down or over there with respect to what you had to say about Oshkosh. And then you still have the lacrosse game way later. But look, River Falls, Platteville, that's a gauntlet on the 26th of October, the 2nd of November, and the 9th of November still to come, too. I mean, as you guys prepare here for this in-conference schedule, how important is it to have these tough games up front against a John Carroll, Mary Hardin Baylor, and a Roosevelt even, because I think they're somewhere between NAIA and Division II from what I can gather from the information I've got on them. How important is it to have these games and not necessarily to win them, but just get the experience from them? Because this is usually what the Warhawks do. They usually line up pretty good out-of-conference scheduled games leading up to this hellacious WEAC schedule.
I think it's very important. I think that, like these games where like you're gonna get punched in the mouth, it's gonna be a physical battle. It's gonna go back and forth. Especially starting the season off, like our coach says, like when things get tough, you have to revert back to our training. Revert back to what we did in practice. If we had a good week of practice, it shows at the end of the game. If we had a bad week, it shows at the end of the game or during. So like us having those first 3 weeks to prepare against, especially tough opponents, really like sharpens down on like the little stuff that we do. Because like every team's gonna make plays, but like, can we make those tackles at the end of the fourth quarter? Can we get those stops and get off the field at the end of the game? Stuff like that. Reverting back to our training and stuff like that will really help us going down the line towards the WIAC schedule where, like it doesn't get any easier. The weather's not gonna get any better. So like you have to learn how to take those punches and roll and keep going. And that's, I think, right there is just how you be a successful team.
Well, absolutely. And, Tamir, we've enjoyed watching your success these last couple seasons. And, one of our friends from warhawkfootball.com was telling us that you are a smart, great guy with a wonderful smile. And we got to see that firsthand here today. And we appreciate you joining us. If you're new, if you've never seen In the Huddle before, we have a little tradition here where we like to give our student athlete guests a chance to do shout outs to any friends, family, coaches, and all that kind of stuff. So the floor is yours, Tamir.
Oh, okay. I want to give a shout out to our coach, my RB coach, Coach Sterner. He's a very old school guy. Huddle the living, trample the dead. He's a pretty funny guy. But also I want to give a big shout out to our future our running backs. Well, you guys know him now, Brian Stan. I could have said last year that kid was gonna be a boss. So he's gonna be something to look forward to next year. And like I want to give a shout out to my family. My mom, she calls and supports every day. She's almost at every game, unless we're going too far. So I really appreciate her that for that. And shout out to Whitewater giving me a chance.
What's mom's name?
Tahira.
Tamir is a great guy from all accounts that we've heard. A quality individual that you raised, and be proud of him, as I know you are, Tamir. I hope I get to meet you in person. I have not had the opportunity because we haven't crossed paths during playoffs or something like that. I'm being pushed by lacrosse especially to come experience firsthand Wisconsin football in Wisconsin after the whole RPI situation. And let me tell you, I'm not going to stop hearing about that one, I'm sure, out there. But we'll see if maybe I can make my way out there at some point in time. But it's been a pleasure, and best of luck this weekend against, again, a team that I think is being underestimated by a lot of the country, and except for maybe the Warhawks, because it sounds like you guys know what you're up against here against Mary Hardin Baylor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tamir Thomas joined us here this morning here on our In the Huddle live show.
This is the best part of our show, man. I love talking to these guys. Such great young men, and so many interesting stories. And I know he's not going to play in this weekend's game. I think that's the first time that's ever happened in our 17 season history. But he's still been a big part of this team's success, and I think it makes sense that they'll hold him out for this one, and so he gets to be a coach for a weekend instead of a player. But still, I mean, what a fantastic young man. I just love it, man. That was great.
Absolutely. And as you're suggesting, I think this is what differentiates our show sometimes. We love having our coach guests on, but to me, realistically, getting to talk to these young men from across the country, the interviews from last week, BJ Damchick, for instance, at North Central, just having a good rapport with him and a good interview with him, both here and then on the field after the game, and the honest assessments and the passion and love for what we do, which we appreciate. Everybody that sends those kind words. That's what we do this for. We do not do this for freaking fights in Twitter with people that want to use our show as a platform, I think, sometimes to become retweetable or whatever else it is. Ultimately, I don't get it anymore. It is what it is. We'll just keep going here.
I mean,
Region 5.
Theoretically, okay, Region 5. Let's just keep going.
Well, you can finish what you guys say. Go ahead.
I mean, theoretically, we should all be able to get along. Division III is a underrepresented thing in the media, but I think too, because we all care and we are passionate about it, when we see stuff that doesn't seem right, we gotta raise the red flag and you're an official. You throw the flag on the play, and call stuff out. We do feel passionately about it. We appreciate what these student athletes and coaches go through, and so we just want to try to bring the most honest and straightforward coverage that we can. So I'll just leave it at that. And jumping into this slide, Mary Hardin Baylor and Whitewater is probably the game of the weekend. But I tell you, Frank, Wartburg at Central is going to be fantastic because I feel like the Dutch are a team that's flying under the radar nationally. Augustana had a great season last year. We're not really sure what's going on with Wheaton. Are they down because they lost to Oshkosh, or is Oshkosh really that good? They're ranked now in the top 15. So maybe, there's some really good games in this slate here. Illinois College is looking to bounce back. Ripon is not an easy win for them. St. Norbert and Aurora, same thing. Those guys are always a tough out, and Aurora is looking to bounce back after a tough loss. So there's some games here in Region 5 that will define those conference races. Some of these are out of conference games, some of them are in conference games, but these are big games for Week 3 to be happening out in Region 5.
Absolutely. Well said. We did not finish really going over Region 6, so let's go back to it and finish that discussion as well here. Again, UMHB, UW-Dub, people have taken the luster off this game this season, and they're fools. They're absolute fools if they are not looking at this game as an important game. I mean, yes, Cortland Susquehanna is my game of the week. There's no doubt about that, but this is going to be a challenge. If Whitewater runs over Mary Hardin Baylor, then they deserve maybe even better than a number 3 rating in my feelings here. If they play the game, a close game like I think it'll be, then they're probably still number 3. But I have a feeling voters are going to ding them for it if that happens because they're not giving Mary Hardin Baylor any credit. And that's where this whole thing is bullshit to me right now about how we're even handling it as voters. Maybe NPI would handle it better. I don't know, but it is what it is. Let's go to the other games. Go ahead, go through the Region 6 games.
Well, so far Wabash has been undefeated, and so it'll be interesting to see how they fare against a WIAC team in Platteville, which has done well so far. I mean, the WIAC has basically been, WIAC, whatever we call it, has been plastering everybody they played so far. And, can the Little Giants win this game? We'll see. It could be something that the people at DePaul are like, oh, crap, we got these guys to contend with in week 11 again. So that'll be an interesting one. Redlands Linfield, always kind of a classic SoCal versus the Pacific Northwest matchup. Same thing with Chapman Whitworth. So far, it looks like the Pirates are the real deal. This is a rematch, I think, of a playoff game from last year, so that should be a good one. And then, La Crosse is taking on a D2 school. It's a pretty good one in Grand Valley State. How will they fare? That game in the grand scheme of things doesn't really matter if the Eagles win or lose, but if they win, that'll be impressive. And then you got a couple of red-eye games on the West Coast with Pomona and Pacific and Puget Sound and Laverne.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one region where I wouldn't veer off from you on Game of the Week. You usually pick first, and I get to see and can say, okay, I'll make a conscious decision and pick another one. I'm not. This is the Game of the Week in Region 6 easily, without differential or doubt on that one. Okay, let's get into the facts and kind of, again, the reality of what the whole hubbub was on NPI and why people are all Twitter on Twitter on the whole thing, or X. Yes. So realistically, JB, for all intents and purposes, we were not supposed to be doing this year. This is a system that was supposed to be tested this year alongside the normal rack system and committee system, and we would go and maybe do it next year. Instead, the NCAA mandated it for Division III starting this year, and worse yet, even if it screws up, the dials, those so-called dials that we've got, are locked in for 2 years. So if it looks bad this year, it's probably going to look bad again next year. And so one of the biggest dilemmas or problems that people have with what happened here with football is on this screen right here. So you basically set these dials. These are the dials you set. Win percentage, and then also SOS, strength of schedule, what the balance is between the two. Mm-hmm. And then you might give a bonus for a home win, away loss situation. Quality wins, you get a bonus with a multiplier of some sort. And overtime doesn't matter in this case for football. And you also have to have a minimum number of wins in your list. This is the part that's tough for a lot of people to understand. You may have 10 wins, but maybe only 5 of them will count because a win can't hurt your number. And so if the win has an index below your NPI number, we toss that game. So a team could be 10-0, but only have 5-0 on their resume because 5 of those games got tossed because they weren't quality wins of some sort. So, okay, but look at that win percentage and look down the line. Win percentage was set according to the defaults at 25% win percentage, 75% SOS. In football, it's set at 40%. Everybody and his brother that I talked to says there is a giant concern out there about the fact that we went to the 40% model here and that the quality wins, if you look down that line, we basically threw out quite a bit of what influence strength of schedule was supposed to have on the index of NPI. So it became a win index, not as much as a strength of schedule index. And that's where things and people get a little bit upset or hairy about this whole process. There are many other reasons to not like it, and I fear what some of these numbers are going to look like when we get to it. But you said it in the open. I'm going to say it again right now. We saw Rambo's carving knife, our friend Pritzker out there, who was saying, well,
Pritzker, leave it at that.
Yeah. We love that Logan gives us all this insight and information into it. There's no information to give you. There's none. Because until you get to 5 games, 5 wins specifically for the ones that are actually vying for, Pool C slots, none of this shit matters. None of it.
Nope.
Because these numbers, as we said,
0.0.
A lot of these things will be dropped. These results that would count right now because there are no other results to go with, some of them will be dropped. Some of them will not exist in the index later on for these teams. Many. Yeah. Okay? So you get to week 6 or 7, still there's not a huge amount of relevance in those numbers. Yeah, it's better, but no, it's not going to be. So the only way that Logan has made this make sense, ultimately, is by using his probability index, as we said. And this was a weird back and forth about that, because basically he said exactly what we said on the show, which was you're using your probability index to basically predict the season and then applying NPI formula to it at that point in time. Okay, that's great. I don't believe in your probability index, Logan. Therefore, it has no use to me, those numbers. Others may like it, but hey, not for nothing. I think I beat him by 3 games in the playoffs last year with his probability index. Okay, so apparently I'm a better computer than Logan's computer is. I don't know. I mean, what do you learn from any of this? Okay, no. In all seriousness, it's a model. It is a predictor. It is something that he created and modified, as they said, the open of the show. But
that's great. It's great for what it is. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but it's not NPI. NPI is not discernible currently. Yep. Yeah. I think we're at 10. We owe the swear jar about $10 right now. So anyway, go find your money. Venmo the swear jar. But no, in all seriousness, for those that are like, well, he's giving us this great value and information. No, he's not. He's giving you information based on his assessments that he does every year that we don't give much credence to in the first place. You might, and great. Enjoy his content, okay, by all means.
Yeah,
but great. When we've got teams out there saying, wait, what does that mean? People actually reaching out to us to say, what does he mean by that? And we have to sit there and explain it to them and say, it's not really reality. Okay, maybe if you go 10-0, we can talk about that, but that's not what we're doing here, okay? NPI has nothing to do with Logan's index. It has everything to do with the actual results that come in over an 11-week period. And even in week 10, a lot of things could change between week 10 and week 11, where you'll see your name listed as a team that might be viable for a Pool C bid. And even with a win, you might not see that happen in week 11 when it actually matters, when the selections are made. And the last thing I'm going to say right now, JB, and I hate to say this, is how many years have we done a committee chair interview on this show?
Every year since day one.
Why are we going to keep doing it? There is no viability in the committee structure anymore. The RAC really doesn't even exist, the Regional Advisory Committee. The committee is not picking the teams. The teams are seeding themselves, basically. All they're going to do is maybe move things around for geography purposes a little bit. But long story short, all the committee is ultimately a cleanup crew for where to put teams on a bracket at this point. That's it. And then glorified site reps during the playoffs. I mean, I love our interactions with the committee over the years, but what's the value? Why would anybody in their right mind even apply to be in the committee anymore? What influence do you have at that point? I don't know. I really don't. So we're kind of going back and forth on the idea, do we even have the committee chair join us this year?
It used to help you get into the tournament if you were on the committee sometimes, But that's another story that we can't talk about. But and kind of going back to the whole thing, like yes, I agree that there is certainly a place, and the fans that enjoy Logan's content, I'm happy for that. But the problem that I have, and I think I said this in a tweet last night, that it does give certain fans like this false sense of security, like, oh, well, then my team is okay. And Logan is sort of putting it out there like this is a fact, and it's not necessarily the case, because we don't really know what the formula is really going to be, and maybe you'll be in the top 8, maybe you won't be. We don't, it's way too early to have any clue on what this thing. And so I think it gives us a false sense of security, for certain teams. Like if I was a Springfield fan last week, I'd be like, oh wow, we're going to be, a number 1 seed, like top 8, like great, but that's not really what's going on here. And
well, that assumes Oshkosh goes 7-3 according to his model, which. Okay, that's great.
And by the way, when was the last time that Springfield When was the last time the Springfield beat Union? I mean, this game tonight is not a slam dunk. I mean, I know the Union may be not as strong as they've been in recent years, but when was the last time the Pride beat them? I'm just saying, there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
You so almost said it.
Crap. There we go. All right.
Oh my goodness. Let's get some music going here and all that stuff. I think it's time. I reckon it's time, as one of my favorite streamers says. Yeah, well, because we need to make it be enough. I got to get out of here. Time's rolling. Here we go. Oh, we're even starting halfway into the music, apparently, because I'm that good at this. Union and Springfield. Look at that. It starts right now, and you start. So good luck.
I mean, the fact that Union barely beat SUNY Maritime makes me think that the Dutchman/Garnet Chargers are in trouble, but I can't remember the last time they lost to the Pride. So, come on, Coach Strock, let's prove the computer models or whatever out there wrong. I'm going to take Union in a close one, 21-17.
I can't believe this is happening, but I'm going to take I'm going to take Springfield, at home in an emotional night, obviously, for them. I think Springfield has a very good chance here with, the experience of quarterback is a big deal in that triple option scenario. And while Union has been good at triple option, a lot of it was Coach Pete Brown used to be kind of the master of defending against it when he was the defensive coordinator for years and years. He's no longer with Union, retired last year. So as a result, the institutional knowledge of that triple option defense isn't as much there, I don't think. And so I'm going to give Springfield the edge here based on some of that. No, you cannot. See, inside baseball here. 27-21, Springfield wins this game. Next up, I'll go first. On this one, it is Framingham State versus Mass Dartmouth. I'm going to pick Mass Dartmouth to win this game. Dante, don't let me down. I know you're watching, Dante. I know you're watching. You can tweet me right now or DM me right now. Tell me, because I'm telling you right now, you better give me the win on this one. I have you winning this game 37-20.
I think it's going to be bigger than that. I'll take Mass Dartmouth to win 52-20.
Let's go to the MAC. Del Val, Stevenson. You can see we're going to switch between conference games and out-of-conference games throughout this because that's what's happening right now in the entirety of Division III. Go ahead, you first.
I think the Aggies are the team to beat in the MAC. Stevenson looks like they're a little down this year, so I'll take the Aggies 42-17.
I think Stevenson's going to, at home, put up a fight here. I think you're right about the final result. So I'm going to say Del Val wins this 30-20 in a very interesting game, the way it plays out. Tonight, Transit Trophy game, WPI at RPI, and WPI looked better last week than they did against Worcester State, but I'm going to say home cooking wins the day at RPI under the lights on a Friday night. Hopefully, people are not too drunk at that game. Yes, it happens even at great institutions like RPI. Okay, it's Friday night, folks. I'm going to say RPI wins the game. Oh, no. 37-21.
Yeah, I think a little lower scoring, more defensive game, but I'll take the Engineers of Rensselaer to win this one 21-17.
So glad you get to go first on this one. Cortland, Susquehanna, the rematch. Hit it.
The champs are going to win big. They are a little TO'd about last year's results. They had that game in the bag and they let it slip away. They're going to drop a lot of points on Susquehanna, who really struggled to put away a good Brockport team, but a Brockport team that'll probably lose to Cortland later in the season. I'll take the champs to win it 45-21.
Yeah, there's no sleeping on this game at this point. Yes, the Susquehanna-Brockport game played out similarly in terms of being a close game like last year, but I think Cortland wakes up. That's the difference here in this game, and they do not let their foot off the pedal in this one. I'm going to give Cortland the advantage by the final score of 40-24 in this game. Then another tough one, Salisbury at Hopkins. I'm going to go with the Homewood home feel on this one, but I'll tell you, I would not be shocked if I woke up and Hopkins loses this game ultimately. That said, I think Bay Harvey is such a good engineer right now of that offense for Hopkins with his maturity. I just think it's something special that's going on there. I mean, when he lost Will Leger, we thought it was, Dunsville in Ithaca. It wasn't, and that's Bay Harvey, okay, on offense, and his ability to use the rest of his weapons out there. I give Hopkins the win here. Again, high scoring, 44-37.
Well, at the risk of the Blue Jay bar spitting in my drink, I'm going to go with the upset. I need to pick up a game here and there, so I'll take the Seagulls. Surprising once again. I mean, they handled Muhlenberg, which always plays Hopkins tough, and so why not? Let's see what happens. The NJAC seems to be back, and so I'll take Salisbury to win this one in a shootout, 49-42.
Remember, if you missed the beginning of the show, we are extremely accurate predictors that know what we're talking about, right?
Oh yeah. We're like computers.
Ruining your sinus. You go first.
Something's going on with this Coach Ruley and the profs. But the Bears at home are tough out. So I'm gonna take your sinus in this one just because I think the Centennial is still a little bit tougher. And, but if Rowan wins, I won't be surprised, and they'll be 3-0. So I'll take the Bears in a close call, 31-28.
Yeah, as you said it, I'm thinking to myself, I really haven't looked at your sinus scores this year to really have a good take on it. I mean, they're 2-0, 45-14 against Alvernia, 31-17 against Kane. At Kane. I'll tell you, I was at your sinus last year. You've seen the bear picture with me in our open, basically, Friday night game, and they're tough at home. They had a real tough one against Muhlenberg there last year. Remember, I'm going to say that. Wow. I'm going to give it to your sinus by. Yeah, thanks. I'm going to give it to your sinus by a final score of 27-24, our favorite score. Let's see here. Let's go to Region 3 now. Barry at Randolph-Macon. I think Barry's going to make it competitive. I think Randolph-Macon has got a lot of questions to answer after that Hobart game. Sorry, JB. I just don't think that was the quality win for them ultimately, the way it played out. Yes, we know. There's the Hobart ball. Randolph-Macon, though, will hold on to win this game, too, 21-20.
Yeah, I think the defense will carry the day, so I'm going to go with the Jackets as well. They've got a 28-game regular season winning streak, which is one of the best in all divisions of football. So I'll go with the home team, but it'll close call, I'd say 24-21.
Washington Leah Trinity.
Tigers seem to be back, so I'm going to go with them at home. WNL, good offense, but sort of one-dimensional. I think Trinity can take advantage of that, and they'll win 35-21.
Yeah, at home, it's going to be tough. I think Trinity I will give the nudge to here. as well, 30-20. And let's go next to the OAC. We got 2 games in the OAC. We're going to predict Ohio Northern and Heidelberg first off.
Oh, man.
And I look, with the change in coaching at Ohio Northern, I'm going to give Scott Donaldson the nudge here on Heidelberg's side of the ledger. And so I'm going to give Heidi the Student Princes a 28-21 win in this game.
Yeah, I like that pick, but I'll say it's a little higher scoring game. I'll go Heidelberg 42 and NONU 35.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Are you stroking out there? What's going on? John Carroll, Mount
It's been
Union.
a long week, man.
I know it is. Go ahead. John Carroll, Mount Union.
Purple Raiders, they're still a top 5 team in my opinion. Carroll is going to be a tough out, but I still think that the Mount Union will win this game like 35-14. Yeah,
this is where we learn who Mount Union is, I think, a little bit more, and they're going to be a very good team. 37-10, I think, in favor of Mount Union. Wartburg at Central, you brought it up earlier. This is my upset of the week in top 25. Central, I think, is a good team at home. They had a great trip to Cal Lutheran last week, and so I think they're ready for Wartburg coming in here after getting banged up pretty badly against St. John's last week. Central wins this game 24-14.
Wow. Well, since I need to gain some ground here, I'll take the road team because we've pretty much agreed on everything except for a couple of games. So I'll take the Knights in a close one, 35-31.
Augustana Wheaton.
I think didn't Wheaton have the week off? They had like a week 2 bye. I don't believe they played last week, so a little extra time. Augustana had a big 5th-year senior class last year, so I just feel like with Giovanni Weeks and company, it'll be a close game, but I'll take the Thunder to win it like 31-17.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Augustana may be a little down this year, to be honest with you. So I'm going to give Wheaton the nudge on this one by a 30-21 score in favor of the Thunder. 2 left here, and next up is UMHB at Whitewater. Look, 23-20, Whitewater. I've said all I need to say about this game already. For those that are trying to bury UMHB already this season based on schedule alone and last year's results, I just think it's foolish. And if you do not think that they are window dressing already for a potential FCS or Division II upgrade because of this whole ASC situation and shenanigan going on, you're foolish too. I'm sure they have some players in their youth core there that are probably thinking that this team is going to be going into an upper division soon. And as a result of this, I think UMHB is getting geared up, and this will be a tough game as a result of it. 23, Whitewater.
Yeah, I'll go 24-17 Warhawks. I think it'll be a battle. It's going to be very ground game heavy with a few pass plays thrown in there for the fun. But yeah, if this game isn't close, I'll be shocked.
Finally, Chapman at Whitworth. Go ahead.
I think we've seen in the last couple of weeks that the Pirates are for real, and they could repeat as Northwest Conference champions. So it's a good rematch from a playoff game from last year, but I just feel like the Bucks are a little bit stronger than the Chaps, whatever they're called.
Chaps.
So I'll take the the Pirates 31-17. I said that. Yeah, I did.
Wait till you see my last answer in Quick Hits this week. I'm going to take a lot of flack for what I did on that, and you may have just made it even worse at this point. The Panthers, just to confirm, it is not the Chaps, it's the Panthers.
Yo Adrian,
wins this game.
Is this the Yo Adrian one?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Whitworth wins this game. Sorry, guys. 31-10, and that will do it.
That 15
Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead and read the quick hit if you'd like to, because this is about the MIAA HCAC challenge, right?
One would hope that the HCAC will be trying hard to match that win total. And although if it happens, I'll say, Olivet, Albion, my best behavior here to say, yo, Adrian, the MIAA will win one from here to Kalamazoo, going 6-1 on the day. Now back to reading Calvin and Hobbes in my newspaper. Oh my God. I thought I was corny.
You know, once you get to the sixth question on quick hits, you're all kinds of punchy trying to do research in the first place, so you got to do something. Okay, JB, viewership, how should people watch the weekend with games starting tonight? Actually, there are quality games with Transit Trophy and Springfield Union starting up here.
Yeah, we do have a couple of Friday Night Lights games with Union Springfield, Framingham, Mass Dartmouth. We got the Transit Trophy, WPI, RPI. WNE versus St. Lawrence could be a sneaky good game too. So we got 4 games tonight, which will be interesting. And then starting on Saturday, you can catch, starting with maybe, in Region 2, Cortland, Susquehanna at noon. You got TC&J Muhlenberg at 1. You got Barry Randolph-Macon at 12:30. Same thing with Washington Lee and Trinity at 1 o'clock. Starting to get into the 2 o'clock time frame. John Carroll Mountain Union kicks off at 1:30, not 2. And then as you get further out to the Midwest, Wartburg Central's at 2 o'clock. Same thing with Norbert and Aurora, Ripon and Illinois College. Got a couple of night games too, which will be good. I think Tufts Wesleyan could be a sneaky good game, and the NESCAC, Rowan Ursinus at 7 o'clock on Saturday night will be really good. Howard Payne, Lyon could be interesting. We got Ohio Northern Heidelberg, we got Augusta Wheaton, and we have UW versus Grand Valley State. So lots of action going on week 3, and maybe not as many big like top 25 games as we've had in the first 2 weeks, but there should be some real competitive football going on, and we'll recap it as best we can come Tuesday or Wednesday or whenever we get crunch time done. Hopefully, please post your videos online, guys. Come on, help us out, please. None of this secret stuff.
Andrew Santillo wishes your dad a happy birthday. His dad is 77 today. So, Andrew, thank you for that. Joseph Michael said good morning, gents, on our Facebook chat stream. So, good morning to him as well. And good morning, everybody watching us on both Facebook and Twitter. Thanks to Tamir Thomas. Angela, thanks for helping us get that set up at Wisconsin-Whitewater Sports Information. And thanks to everybody out there. We didn't have our special guest, unfortunately, but we'll work something out on that. We got big time today, I think, is what it came down to, but we're used to it. Look, we're exhausted. I'm going to have my 6th and 7th games for the season this weekend. So, pray for us, folks, that we kind of get a little bit of a respite at some point here. There will be a week probably where I say I'm not hitting the road at all, because it takes a lot out of us, but we get energized from getting out there and from all the stuff we do. And so just keep that in mind, that we are volunteers, just like everybody else out there, and we don't make money for this, and we enjoy it nonetheless, because you guys seem to enjoy it. So keep the good comments coming in, the good karma coming in, and we will talk to you throughout the weekend on Twitter and back here on Tuesday, we hope, with Crunch Time. Be well, everybody.